Samuel Fugo of Eatontown in my home county. And there's Samuel on one of our recent Memorial Days with me, admiring one of the wreaths that were placed in honor of our fallen veterans, and Sam has now fallen himself. From Eatontown, he served our nation in the Army, in Army Reserves for more than 37 years. He was awarded the Bronze Medal for his service in Iraq in 2006 and 2007, and he also received the New Jersey Distinguished Service Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster. He also led the Monmouth chapter of the Association of the United States Army. Our state lost him yesterday. We thank him for his life of service, as we do every single one of our proud veterans. His memory and his family are in our prayers. I want to thank my friend Ben Gopal to making sure that I knew, sadly, the minute he knew that we had lost Sam. Another one, Jesus Villaluz, was a patient transport worker at Holy Name Medical Center in Teaneck, where he had worked for 27 years. His co-workers remembered the time that he won the 50-50 raffle, and instead of keeping it for himself, he shared it with his colleagues. He was 75 years old when we joined his family and everyone he touched in mourning his passing. Teaneck, which has been particularly hard hit, lost another great member of its community, Perry Rosenstein. Perry was the uncle. Here's Perry. I love the hat. Perry was the uncle of CWA New Jersey Director Hetty Rosenstein, who so many of us here in Trenton know so well. Perry founded both the Puffin Foundation to support the arts and the Abraham Lincoln Brigade Archives to chronicle the American fighters who stood against Spanish fascism during the Franco regime, among so much more. All of us send our condolences to Hetty and the entire Rosenstein family and the friends and fellow Teaneckers who Perry touched. And I learned last night that a dear friend in Morris County, my dear friend Scott Carlson, lost his dad, Gerald, who was going to turn 88 in 2 weeks. He was a lifelong New Jerseyan. He was a lifelong design draftsman. He worked on both the Shuttle Columbia and Challenger. We're keeping Scott, his family, and his dad's memory in our prayers this weekend. He was the proud grandfather of Haley and Evan. Every one of them and the many, many more who we are not mentioning by name today. God rest their souls. Today, as I mentioned yesterday, our flags are flying at half-staff in their memories, in the memory of all who have been lost, and for all the families who have been impacted by COVID-19 and are not, we have to remind everyone, are not able to fully gather properly for a funeral or a memorial. And the flags will continue to fly at half-staff throughout the duration of this pandemic. No family, whether in New Jersey or anywhere, will be forgotten. I know that staying apart is really hard, whether it be for a funeral or a religious rite that we long to attend. But right now we have no choice. It's what we need to do. It is what we must do. I spoke yesterday by telephone with a great leader in our state, Cardinal Joe Tobin. Made it clear that everyone needs to stay home, including, and I say this, and I know he says this with profound gravity, including not taking communion, whether it's tomorrow for Palm Sunday or any day. I know it's not easy for him or Catholics around the state, as this especially is the beginning of Holy Week. So to all our Christian brothers and sisters, we acknowledge the beginning of the week tomorrow, but we plead with you to stay home and stay away from each other. Cardinal Tobin then spoke, as he volunteered to do, with each of the archbishops in this state, and while I'm mentioning him, and that was the conversation I had, I know he speaks for all. I know he speaks for, he spoke with, and I want to give a particular shout out to my bishop from the Archdiocese of Trenton right here, Bishop O'Connell. I thank not just the Catholic leadership, but leaders across all of our faith communities who are coming together to help meet the spiritual needs of their congregations, while also ensuring the social distancing that is so critical to flattening the curve in getting us through this emergency, especially in this season. when you've got, as I mentioned, Holy Week leading up to Easter. You've got Passover starting on Wednesday, and not too far behind Ramadan, to pick three big religious holidays among so many other celebrations and festivals that are fast approaching. Our desire clearly is to come together. That's only natural. We are humans. But our need and our mandate is to find a way to observe and celebrate separately. I know it's a challenge. It's a challenge that we are more than up to meeting. Keep practicing your social distancing. As we note in this map, and I'll come to it in a second, consider it, as Father Jim would say, social solidarity. By being apart, we're actually working together. And this graphic from the New York Times shows the impact it shows in how vital social distancing is to slow the spread. Let's stay with this just for a second, Mom. This is color-coded for all 21 counties, and by the way, there's no amount of football spiking that we should attach to this graph, but it gives you some sense, and this has changed meaningfully over the past several days, and on the margin, that's a good thing. The darker colors are where the amount of folks who are infected is doubling at a faster rate. And so while the cases in Salem and Cape May County, to pick two in the south, are quite low, I think, Judy, total positives in Cape May are 50, and in Salem County, 25. So between them, only 25 positive cases that have been tested, by the way. Again, that's just folks who have been tested. So it's a very low number, but the curve is steep. So the folks there need to get out ahead of this as fast as they can. The orange color is where cases are doubling at a much slower rate. And the yellow color, actually happens to be my home county of Monmouth, where they are doubling at yet again an even slower rate. There's another color that's better than yellow, which basically means you've broken the back of it. I don't know what that color is, but I look forward to seeing it up there sooner than later. And then we could show you a national map, which we remind you that we showed yesterday. And the deeper the red, the more traveling there is going on, and the grayer the gray, the more social distancing and less travel that's going on. And we showed this to you yesterday. I don't think it's changed meaningfully in any way since yesterday. In fact, probably not at all. But the point is, the good news is you see New Jersey among a cohort of very gray states, which means, folks, thank you. What you're doing is making a difference, and that ultimately will give us the best weapon we have to deal with this and break the back of that curve and flatten it. We still have a ways to go, by the way. I wish that this would be an overnight, next week, 2 weeks from now phenomenon. It isn't. But you also can see why we're concerned about other places that are still traveling and have gotten to that stay-at-home status much more slowly than we have in New Jersey and our neighboring states. We're going to have to be very, very careful when we slowly, whatever it is, to begin to responsibly reopening our economy and our state and our society. We got to be very careful, particularly Judy and your team will remind me of contact tracing and being aggressive in quarantining and isolating anybody down the road. Listen, as I've said many times, we're going through hell together. I'll be darned if we're going to do that more than once. We got to make sure this is going to be longer than any of us want, but we got to make sure that we not only crack the back of the reality here, but as we begin to open things up again, we don't inadvertently put gasoline back on the fire. And again, back to our communities of faith, regardless of your faith, we need you to remember that we are all in this together, and that we must find ways to stay at home. We mandate stay at home and exercise your faith, practice your faith, social distance even from your fellow family members, but at home. So I thank you for that. There are a number of different other points which I'll make as quickly as I can before I turn things over to Judy. We've had a number of conversations at the most senior levels of the administration. Literally this morning, I had a good conversation with Vice President Mike Pence across a whole range of critical asks on our behalf. You won't be surprised, ventilators was at the top of that conversation, as it is in almost every conversation